So the S25 Ultra has been out for more than a week now, and I've had my hands on this retail unit since day one. So let's see whether it's worth your hard-earned cash and whether you should upgrade to it or not. So in the box, you pretty much just get the phone, the Type-C cable, and some documentation along with the SIM ejector tool, and that's pretty much it. As you guys know, phones don't come with charger nowadays. So yeah, that's all what's in the box. Before we get any further into this video, I would just like you guys to know that I've been a massive iPhone user since the 7 Plus. I've stick to the iOS system. I have my Mac right besides me, and it has been an amazing experience in general. The last Android phone that I technically used was before my 7 Plus, and it has been a long freaking time. And that's one reason why I was so excited to try out the S25 Ultra, because I wanted to see how far has Android pushed itself. And trust me, the experience has gotten so much better, and I personally feel like it has never been an easier switch for an iOS guy to switch to Android and still get that same amazing experience. In case if you haven't watched my iPhone review yet, this was the device that I felt like needed a bit more in terms of upgrades, and the case is pretty similar in the S25 Ultra as well. So let's start with the design first. It is all made up of titanium, and I absolutely love and welcome the addition of these rounded corners. This is so much better than the S24 Ultra according to me. Even though the S24 and S23 Ultra had more of a characteristic in terms of design, this is now getting similar to other devices with those rounded corners. But for me, I feel like those are absolutely great, because holding this phone in your hands is a much better experience than those boxy designed phones. The color I chose was the titanium black, and I love how stealthy this looks. And I feel like this is one of the safest colors that you can choose, even though the new titanium silver blue looks absolutely gorgeous. Would have loved if it was more saturated, but apart from that, that is a very nice color to get. And as I mentioned, the other colors are titanium silver blue, titanium white silver, and titanium gray, and the other colors are online exclusive. And apart from the rounded corners, on one side we have the lock button and our volume rockers. On top we just have some microphones. The other side is absolutely empty, and on the bottom we get our Type-C port, the SIM tray, microphone, and the very own S Pen, which surprisingly this year has been nerfed since this no longer has Bluetooth. So now you can't just prop your phone up and use this as your camera shutter. But yeah, apart from that, this is a very nice addition to the phone in case you want to just jot down notes, or just want to draw something real quick, or in case you just want to fidget around in case you're getting bored. But I'm not a huge fan of styluses in general, so it's nice to have, but I don't know how much I'm gonna use this in day-to-day life. It also sticks down a bit on the bottom, so you can't just prop your phone up like this. It's very hard to balance it. But if you remove the S Pen, and then if you want to have your phone straight up, so it's much easier to do that, just so you guys know. Also, the S Pen colors are slightly different depending on which variant you get. While talking about the design, let's talk the amazing display it has on front, which is a 6.9-inch display. So it has been increased by 0.1 inches, which is a welcome addition. That means smaller bezels and more display, and that is always welcome. So it has a dynamic AMOLED QHD panel, which is just absolutely amazing. The colors on this look absolutely gorgeous, and along with that, it also has that anti-reflective coating, which really helps in looking at this screen outdoors, because you don't get those nasty reflections, and it is such a huge difference in comparison to, for example, the iPhone. And you can see right here what I'm talking about, since I have a massive studio light right against me, and this Samsung performs so much better in terms of reflections. I mean, you can't really even see the screen on the iPhone, but look at that Samsung. Massive difference. Also helps a lot when you're outdoors. And along with that anti-reflective coating, it also has 2600 nits of brightness, which makes it easier to see outdoors. Just keep in mind that's the peak brightness, and yes, it is brighter than the 16 Pro Max, hands down, because that peaks at 2000 nits. This is 2600, and it is a variable 120Hz display, so your UI and your games look absolutely smooth. So with that amazing screen in your hands, content consumption comes into play, and enhancing that experience are the speakers. And trust me, they're so much louder, they are rich, and you can also feel those low ends, so it is pretty good for the bass. Okay, so I've opened Spotify on both. You can be the judge, even though translating like sound quality over video isn't the greatest, but I'll do my best, so let's just take a listen and be the judge yourself. So the iPhone first. I'm gonna hold it closer to my mic. The quality is obviously there, but now let's give the Samsung a listen. That is something else. I can literally feel the phone shaking with those low ends, which is just insane. So moving on to the back, it has a quad camera setup, which is pretty similar to last year's S24 Ultra, except that new ultra wide, which is now 50 megapixels, which is a welcome upgrade. Even though I don't use my ultra wide a lot, but it is nice to have those extra megapixels in case if you want to crop into an image, or in case if you want to just edit it in post, it is nice to have that extra detail. But to be very honest, it is not that different from the S24 Ultra, even though the low light performance has improved, but overall I would not say it is like a major camera upgrade. And talking about the other cameras, we still have the 200 megapixel main, which is just insane to think 200 megapixels on a smartphone. But now if you look at all the Asian manufacturers like Vivo, Xiaomi, all of them have like a 200 megapixel sensor, and the Vivo X200 Pro literally smacks every phone out of the water in terms of camera performance. It also has two telephoto cameras. One is a 50 megapixel 5x and the other one is a 10 megapixel 3x. And as I mentioned, I don't use my ultra wides a lot, but I am a huge fan of the telephotos, not on just this phone, but like in general. And I use the telephotos like a lot. And I absolutely love how pictures turned out once you're like really zoomed in. I know it has the 100x AI zoom. I don't use that a lot, but sometimes it's nice to have when you want to just look at things which are a bit further away and you don't want to walk. For example, I was at Walmart and I couldn't read what was on like the other corner in the aisle. I just used this phone to zoom in to see what all stuff was there. So that is sometimes like useful, but apart from that, I absolutely love the telephoto sensor. And talking about the overall camera setup and image quality, the pictures that turn out are really great dynamic range, and it is one of the best cameras that you can find on the market. I still personally prefer how natural my iPhone images look, but this out of the box, like with that processing and stuff, in case if you directly want to upload those to the socials, these definitely look a lot more like saturated, vibrant, and more pleasing to the eye. The low light performance has also improved, and I feel like Samsung has done a really great job in improving their processing. It is now not too much, but still gives like amazing results. Samsung has also integrated a brand new Pro Visual engine inside the chipset, which introduces like enhanced and improved image processing algorithm, which makes the image looks better in general. And I really feel like it's all software based. We'll get on to that later in the video. While we're talking about the cameras, let's talk about the video part of it. It can shoot up to 8K 30 FPS or like 4K 120, which is on par with all the flagship devices. The video quality overall is great, the stabilization is nice, but now they also have introduced log video built into the default camera app, which is great looking at like all the content creators that are emerging up. It's nice to have just your phone in hand and you can shoot like pretty much professional video. I did try out the log video and tried to convert it while editing, but it always doesn't look the greatest. But Samsung has also provided like a color correct option in the phone itself, which to be honest is very helpful, and I would like to see something along the similar lines on the iPhone as well. And the video quality has been bumped up from 8-bit to 10-bit since log usually requires that. Another thing that they have added is this new smooth zoom feature, so you can use this to zoom in like while you're recording a video, and it acts as one of those older camcorders which used to have like those zoom buttons and it used to zoom in very smoothly. So that is a very nice addition. So that's all about cameras. Now let's talk about performance. This comes with the latest and greatest, which is the Snapdragon 8 Elite, custom tuned for Galaxy, which means great power efficiency. And as I said, for Galaxy, it has been custom tuned in order to take the most advantage of the software as well. Overall performance is really smooth. You can just fly through the UI, do multitasking, and it won't have a single hiccup, which is just amazing. The new animations in One UI 7 also play a big part in that, and I absolutely love how Samsung has turned One UI 7 into such an amazing experience. Gaming is also super smooth. Even though Apple has ported like AAA titles on iOS, I still feel like Samsung takes the cake because you can literally run an emulator and run PC games natively. Hands down, Android is so much better since it's open source, and in case you want to run emulators and like other sort of games, this takes the crown. And before I forget, it also has like 12 gigs of RAM and you can choose the storage according to what you prefer. As I mentioned, this now has One UI 7, which comes up with a lot of new AI features. But if we keep the AI features aside, I feel like this is one of the best Android skins that you can get other than stock Android. It is now the most easiest it has ever been to switch from iOS to Android, because this is very similar in terms of experience to iOS. Even like the recent apps menu is very similar to iOS 18. And I'm not complaining, it's nice to see uniformity, but it's nice to have like different things around for different brands. But I do definitely understand Samsung's viewpoint, as it makes it easier for like iPhone people to switch over to Android. So I feel like that's a win. The One UI 7 is based on Android 15 and it is just super smooth. I love these animations. And as I said, as an iPhone user, I would definitely switch to this if I had to. And it also has a lot of AI features under that Galaxy AI umbrella. The new Now bar, which gives you a brief of your day and also acts as like dynamic island on your Galaxy. So for example, if I'm running a stopwatch and my Spotify in the background, I can just switch through both of those. And if I click on it, it also like extends up exactly like Dynamic Island. So now Samsung and Google are working together for Gemini. So for example, you can ask it something and add it to your calendar. When's Coldplay playing in Toronto? And add that to my calendar.
All right, you've got a new event set for July 7th, 2025 at 6 p.m. called Coldplay Concert.
As you can see, it works with Samsung Calendar, but you can also add Google Calendar to it. So for example, you have recorded a video, just click on that AI button and then this audio eraser thing pops up. So you can pretty much eliminate the background noise, increase the voice, which is pretty handy to be very honest. One thing that's literally going viral on social media is the magic eraser tool. So if I go here, click on AI. For example, I have this Pokeball in my hand. I can circle that. It should select it perfectly. And then just hit erase. And let's see how well this will do. Like, look at that. I mean, yeah, my hand does look a little weird, but that is so freaking impressive. Like, look at that. And since we talked about performance and I mentioned this is very power efficient, comes the battery life. And talking about the battery, this has a 5000 milliamp hour battery, which gives you 31 hours of continuous video playback according to Samsung. But surprisingly, I was really impressed with the battery life. It easily lasted me throughout the day and even into the second day a little bit. And I had to charge the phone before I left for work the next day. It was like at 18-19%. But to be very honest, that is a great battery life since I use my phones like very heavily. And when I was charging this up, it charges like fairly quickly, 65% in like 30 minutes. And you can get it full like from 0 to 100 in about like a little bit more than an hour, which is very good. All thanks to its 45 watts wired charging and 15 watts wireless. I would have liked to see a jump in the wireless charging department, but it is what it is. And last but not the least is the pricing. This being a flagship is one of the most expensive phones you can get out there. This is $1299 US, which is also $100 extra from the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So I would suggest, in case if you want to get this, just wait for like a few months and then you can grab like good discounts on it instead of paying like the full price. And in Canada, I saw like you can use a coupon and technically get like $200 off. Depending on when you're getting it, you can get like a good deal, which is not pretty much the case with the iPhones. It's always the same price. So yeah, that is pretty much my review of the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Should you upgrade to it? If you're using like an S24 Ultra, even the S23, I would suggest for you guys to skip this. But if you're coming from anything like an older device, an older iPhone, and you want to dabble into the Android ecosystem, I would definitely recommend this. You won't regret your decision. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this vid, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.